Snow whispered across the frozen pines of Harkon. 9. Falling so quietly it seemed afraid to disturb the silence. The forest stretched in every direction, an endless labyrinth of frost and shadow, its stillness hiding the scent of war. Beneath the boughs, a lone figure knelt among the snowdrifts, wrapped in pale camouflage that blurred him into the landscape. Staff Sergeant Mason Reeve adjusted his rifle's bipod, his gloved fingers steady despite the cold that gnawed through his gear. The weapon before him was old-fashioned, metal and gunpowder in a galaxy of plasma and energy, but he trusted it as he trusted his own pulse. Every mark on the rifle told a story, each scratch earned, each groove carved by necessity, not vanity. Above the ridge, a column of alien soldiers moved through the snow, their armor glowing faintly against the gray morning light. The Galactic battalion, a coalition of species united by mutual fear rather than friendship, was a living argument of shapes and colors. Commander Vrel, their leader, stood at the front, her amphibious frame encased in shimmering armor that pulsed with embedded lights. She turned her head toward Reeve, her voice cutting through the calms with clinical disdain. "Human, your species' obsession with solitude is inefficient. The enemy is not a campfire story to wait for in the dark. We advance." Reeve didn't answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the scope, scanning the white expanse below. The snow concealed movement. He could feel it more than see it, a subtle vibration through the ground, the rhythm of something hunting. "They're close," he murmured. "What did he say?" Vrel demanded. Lieutenant Kayer, an insectoid tactician whose mandibles clicked like grinding stone, leaned closer to her. "He claims to feel them," Kayer said, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Humans imagine patterns when frightened. Their biology is crude, dependent on instinct rather than calculation." Reeve exhaled slowly. "Call what you want," he said, "but they're moving in the valley. 20 seconds, maybe less." Kayer's lenses narrowed in amusement. "And how do you know this?" Reeve shifted the rifle slightly, sighting down the scope. "Because the snow stopped falling over there." The words hung in the air just as the first shadow broke the ridge. From mist, sleek metallic figures crawled forward. Kaithen scouts, half organic, half machine. Their bodies gleamed like liquid chrome, their limbs jointed backward for speed. The aliens cursed in their native tongues and scrambled to raise plasma rifles. Vrel shouted for formation, but their sensors flickered with static, interference from a storm. "They jammed us," Kayer hissed. "We can't lock targets." Reeve's breathing slowed to a rhythm. His finger rested against the trigger, waiting for the right moment. "You don't need a lock," he said quietly. "You just need an angle." Vrel sneered. "Your primitive tools are useless." The rifle fired, a single thunderous crack that split the air. The Kaithen scout collapsed mid-step, its head snapping back in a spray of frozen mist. Silence followed, sharp and absolute. The aliens turned toward Reeve, disbelief radiating from their motionless forms. He worked the bolt, chambering another round. "That one was for free," he said. "Next one costs you cooperation." Kayer blinked, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the snow's light. "That was impossible," he muttered. "You fired through cloud interference without visual telemetry." Reeve didn't look away from his scope. "I fired where it was going to be, not where it was." The alien commander took a cautious step closer. "Ow," she demanded. "Experience," Reeve said. "Your tech sees the world as numbers. I see it as movement. Everything living hesitates before it strikes." Vrel's posture stiffened. "You presume to lecture a commander of the Galactic Dominion?" "Not lecturing," Reeve replied evenly. "Just keeping you alive." For a moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the quiet hum of alien equipment and the faint crackle of distant static. Then, faintly from the far ridge, came the echo of movement, dozens, maybe hundreds of Kaithen's signatures shifting through the storm. Their movements were too coordinated to be a scouting party. Reeve knew that rhythm. It was an advanced pattern, tight and deliberate. "They're not testing us anymore," he said. "They're coming in full." Vrel turned toward her troops. "Defensive formation. Prepare for." "Don't," Reeve interrupted. If you light up that ridge, you'll give them targets. Stay low. Her eyes flared. You dare countermand. Commander, Kair interjected. The human's analysis may be correct. The Kaithen adapt quickly to energy signatures. Plasma fire could get us killed. Reeve finished. Exactly. Vrel hesitated, pride clashing with reason, then gave a reluctant nod. Fine. Human, your instincts guide us. But if this fails, it won't, Reeve said. He shifted position, lowering his rifle into the snow. The forest ahead was shrouded in mist, but he could hear them now, the metallic rasp of claws, the synchronized clicking of limbs. Echo 9, the AI bound to his headset, broke its silence for the first time. You've got 60 or 70 of them out there, Mason. Heat signatures packed tight. You planning on counting everyone? Only the ones that matter, Reeve said. Which are? The ones that think they're hidden. The first wave broke from the fog, darting between trees with mechanical precision. Reeve fired again, then again, each shot a punctuation in the storm's rhythm. The Kaithen fell one by one, confusion rippling through their ranks. Vrel's soldiers, still crouched in disbelief, began to mimic his timing, firing short bursts at his intervals. Within minutes, the valley was strewn with smoldering metal and black smoke. When the last echo faded, Reeve rose slightly from the snow. The battlefield was silent once more, but the silence was different now, charged, waiting. He knew this wasn't victory. It was the pause between breaths, the quiet that comes before a larger storm. Vrel approached him, the glow of her armor dimmed to a respectful hue. Perhaps there is use in your primitive methods, after all. Reeve gave her a glance through the frost on his mask. Maybe, he said, but this was just the opening act. Kair tilted his head. You believe they'll return? I don't believe, Reeve said. I know. He adjusted the bolt, sliding a fresh round into the chamber. The first wave always watches how you bleed. The wind shifted, carrying a low hum from the distant forest, an ominous vibration that felt almost alive. Reeve's eyes narrowed as he listened. They're regrouping, he said quietly. Next time, they won't be testing us. They'll be hunting. Vrel frowned. And what will we do when they come? Reeve looked back down his scope, calm and unblinking. We make sure they learn what it means to hunt humans. The forest shuddered again, as if answering him, and the snow began to fall harder. The forest erupted in motion, snow exploding from the ground as the Kaithen's swarm surged forward. Shapes broke from the tree-line, sleek, angular forms glinting with molten veins that pulsed like blood beneath armor. The storm muffled their charge, but Reeve could feel the tremors under his chest, each footfall vibrating through the frozen soil. His breath fogged inside the mask, steady, measured. He had seen this before, the moment before chaos swallowed the world whole. Contact, multiple vectors, Echo, 9 reported, its voice clipped and calm. Heat signatures approaching from east and south. Estimated 200 units. Reeve shifted his scope, tracking faint distortions between the trees. 200, he repeated, almost to himself. Good. They'll block their own lines of fire. Vrel's voice cut through the static. All units, engage at range. Do not wait for them to close. Plasma bolts slice the air, painting brief streaks of blue light against the white landscape. The Kaithen advanced regardless, weaving through the storm, their armor glimmering like shards of night. Reeve's rifle spoke again, one sharp report that cracked across the valley. A Kaithen fell mid-leap, its body tumbling through the snow. He shifted positions without pause, rolling behind a frost-covered log, chambering another round. Each shot was deliberate, each target chosen with precision. He aimed not at bodies, but at rhythm, the flow of movement, the coordination that bound the swarm together. Echo, 9 kept pace with him, whispering data through the noise. Crosswind steady. Next target, lead signal relay, elevation -0.2. Reeve exhaled, adjusted, and fired. The round pierced the relay drone hovering above the swarm, and suddenly their formation faltered. The aliens' comms flared with overlapping voices as the Kaithen's advance broke into confusion. Reeve, Vrel called. What are you doing? You're drawing their attention. That's the point, he replied. He shifted again, crawling through snow that reached his elbows. The ghillie suit made him invisible, a ripple of movement blending into the frost. Around him, the forest hissed with energy fire. The aliens' weapons illuminated the air, but hit nothing of value. Kair scuttled closer, his armored limbs jerking in agitation. You are too exposed, human. Fall back to the line. No, Reeve said. If I move, they'll recalibrate. Keep them firing. Make noise. The insectoid hesitated. Noise? You told us they hunt by sound. I did, Reeve said, sliding into a prone position. But right now, I want them hunting me. He steadied his rifle. Through the scope, the Kaithen commander loomed. A creature twice the height of the others, metal hide fractured with glowing vents. Its head swiveled toward the gunfire, luminous eyes scanning for movement. Reeve waited until its gaze passed over his position, then fired into the exposed joint of its neck. The shot detonated inside the creature's chassis, splintering it into molten fragments. The resulting shockwave sent snow cascading from the trees. Vrel's squad went momentarily still, their disbelief palpable even over comms. By the currents, she whispered. Reeve reloaded with mechanical comm. That was their leader. Another will take command in seconds. Be ready. Echo, 9 interrupted. Multiple subsystems activating. Secondary swarm inbound. Larger, faster. Their biocores are heating the snowfield. You'll lose visibility in 60 seconds. Reeve's eyes tracked the horizon. The mist began to glow faintly as the snow melted into vapor. Then we finish it before that. Kair hissed. You intend to face them alone? I'm the only one who can see through the fog. The second wave emerged like a tidal surge, their claws tearing through the melting ice. Plasma streaks met them, sizzling against armor, but Reeve knew energy fire wouldn't stop them. He lined up his shots with perfect rhythm. Inhale, exhale, trigger. Each report punctuated the battle's chaos, a steady heartbeat cutting through the noise. Bodies dropped in stuttering intervals, their collapse echoing off the trees. Vrel's troops began to follow his cues without realizing it, firing where he did, moving when he shifted. The human had become the center of their rhythm, his discipline shaping theirs. Vrel herself crouched lower, her glowing armor dimmed to avoid detection. Between bursts of gunfire, she spoke quietly into the comms. Human, how do you know where they will move? I watch the snow, Reeve said. It moves before they do. The simplicity of his answer left her silent. Minutes blurred into seconds. The air thickened with vapor. The forest transformed into a fog-wrapped maze. Echo 9's voice was steady, but edged with strain. Ammo at 30%. Enemy count reduced, but reorganizing. They're learning your pattern. Then it's time to change it. Reeve pulled a fresh magazine from his pack, swapping it with swift precision. Call targets. Focus on anything that glows brighter than the rest. Understood, the AI said. Marking priority. Thermal spike at your 11 o'clock. Range 100 meters. That's their new relay core. Reeve aimed into the haze. The target shimmered faintly through his scope, just a heat bloom against gray mist. He waited for the wind to shift, aligning everything. The breath, the trigger, the whisper of balance, and fired. The explosion lit the valley like dawn. Fragments rained through the fog, and the remaining Kaithen stumbled, their unity breaking. The forest filled with mechanical screams, fading into static. Then there was only the crackle of cooling metal and the hiss of vapor rising from scorched snow. Vrel's voice came softly, incredulous. It is over? For now, Reeve said. He pushed himself to one knee, scanning the horizon. The faint hum of energy resonated beneath the silence, low and growing. No, they're regrouping deeper in the valley. Something big's coming. Echo, 9 confirmed in a whisper. Massive energy source detected. Output exceeds known Kaithen units. Must be a juggernaut. Vrel turned toward him, eyes wide. Our weapons cannot pierce its plating. We must retreat. Reeve shook his head slowly, the motion deliberate. Retreat, and it follows you. Hold position. Kayer's tone was almost pleading. You cannot stop it with bullets. Maybe not bullets, Reeve said, checking his rifle. But I've got something heavier. He opened a small case attached to his belt and pulled out a single round etched with faint burn marks, a handcrafted overpressure slug. His gloved fingers handled it like a relic. Echo 9's voice softened. That thing will kick hard enough to break your arm. Then I'll hold it tighter. He slid the round into the chamber, the sound sharp and final. The ground began to tremble, branches shaking snow from their limbs. Through the fog, an enormous silhouette took form, a towering construct of steel and bone, glowing from within like a forge. Vrel's troops instinctively fell back, but Reeve stayed prone, rifle braced, eyes calm. Echo 9 adjusted the scope feed. Target lock acquired. Recommend you don't miss. Reeve smirked beneath the frost. I don't. He steadied his breath, every muscle silent. The juggernaut roared. It sounded distortion that tore through the trees. Reeve waited for the echo to fade, then squeezed the trigger. The world lit up in a single blinding flash. Then once again the forest fell still. The recoil slammed through Reeve's shoulder, a thunderclap that cracked the frozen air. The bullet vanished into the fog, and for a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the juggernaut's chest erupted in a fountain of molten light. The creature staggered backward, its roar turning into a gurgling metallic shriek as the overpressured round detonated deep within its armor. The explosion rolled through the valley like a storm front, toppling trees and scattering shards of steel across the snow. For a long, suspended second, all motion ceased. Then the sound returned, snowflakes hissing as they fell into the smoking crater, the forest groaning as if exhaling relief. Reeve lowered his rifle and waited for the echo to die. His arm throbbed from the recoil, but his heartbeat remained steady. The juggernaut's body smoldered in the distance, its orange glow dimming to ash. He watched it sink into the snow, steam rising from the wound like breath from a dying beast. Echo 9 broke the silence first. Confirmed kill. You're welcome to celebrate, though your pulse rate suggests you already are. Not yet, Reeve said. Let's make sure it stays dead. He rose from the snow, each movement slow, deliberate. Around him, the alien soldiers emerged from their cover, their luminous armor flickering uncertainly. They stared at the wreckage, their previous arrogance dissolved into something quieter, respect or perhaps fear. Commander Vrel approached cautiously, her eyes fixed on the crater's glowing rim. Ow, she asked simply. Reeve brushed frost from his rifle. Pressure and patience, he said. The rest was gravity's work. Kayer moved closer, his mandibles twitching as he examined the shattered husk of the juggernaut. You destroyed a Kaithen war form with a single ballistic projectile, he said, disbelief edging his voice. No advanced targeting, no energy resonance, just powder and lead. Reeve gave a faint shrug. Simple doesn't mean weak. Vrel turned her gaze toward him, her tone softer now. You risked your life when retreat was the logical choice. Why? He met her eyes, unflinching. Because if it caught us running, none of you would have made it to the ridge. She studied him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. The wind carried a low hum through the valley, the forest settling under a sky streaked with faint auroras. The battle had burned through the clouds, revealing the stars above, 1,000 distant fires glinting like witnesses to the slaughter below. Echo 9 spoke quietly, breaking the stillness. All enemy signals terminated. Field secure. Field's never secure, Reeve said. Not until the next one. He holstered the rifle, the motion practiced and weary. Start scanning for survivors. The aliens obeyed, spreading out through the clearing. Vrel lingered beside him, her voice thoughtful. You humans are an enigma, she said. You fight with outdated tools and fragile bodies, yet you endure what breaks machines. Reeve looked out over the snow, his breath forming brief ghosts in the air. "Because we don't rely on the tools," he said. "We rely on the will to use them." Kair's voice came through the comms, tinged with awe. "Reeve, your actions have been logged. The Dominion will study this engagement for centuries." "Make sure they study the part where you almost shot your own line," Reeve said dryly. Even Vrel allowed a quiet laugh. "Humor after victory. Perhaps that is your secret weapon." "Maybe," Reeve said, "but it doesn't reload easily." They continued through the wreckage, the snow crunching softly underfoot. The Kaithen bodies steamed faintly, their heat cores cooling into brittle glass. Reeve crouched beside one, studying the craftsmanship. The perfect symmetry of its design, its precision undone by something as small as a human's bullet. It struck him that the universe often mistook sophistication for superiority. The Kaithen were efficient, unfeeling, mechanical perfection. But they had no patience. They had no understanding of stillness, no capacity for fear or resolve. That, he thought, was why they always lost to creatures who still remembered how to wait. Echo 9 broke his reverie. Extraction team en route. Estimated arrival in 9 minutes. Plenty of time to freeze, Reeve muttered. He glanced toward Vrel's troops, who now moved with disciplined silence, following his gestures without hesitation. Only hours ago, they'd mocked him for being primitive. Now they mimicked his calm. Vrel approached again, lowering her voice. "When the report reaches command, I will recommend your tactics be studied and incorporated into Dominion training." Reeve smirked. "Good luck teaching patience to soldiers who've never missed a meal." "You underestimate how quickly we learn," she said, "especially when survival depends on it." He gave a short nod. "Then you might make good soldiers yet." The wind shifted again, carrying with it a faint metallic scent. Reeve looked toward the horizon. "They'll send more," he said. "The Kaithen don't leave debts unpaid." Vrel frowned. "Then we will face them together." Reeve didn't answer immediately. The forest beyond the battlefield was dark again, its silence returning like a held breath. He knew what came next. Reconsolidation, redeployment, another fight on another frozen world. The cycle never ended. But something in Vrel's voice lingered with him, an echo of trust that hadn't existed before. Echo 9's tone softened. "You've earned their respect." "That's rare." Reeve slung his rifle across his back. "Respect's temporary. Fear lasts longer. You always know how to make a moment sentimental." He allowed himself a quiet laugh, the sound muffled by the mask. "Keeps me human." As the extraction lights cut through the mist, he turned once more toward the shattered juggernaut. Its molten heart had cooled to a dull gray, smoke rising like incense into the night. He thought of Earth, its storms, its endless wars, its stubborn survivors, and felt a flicker of pride that didn't need words. Vrel stepped beside him, following his gaze. "When history remembers this battle," she said, "they will call you the ghost line of Harkonnen." Reeve shook his head. "Names fade." He watched a snowflake melt against his glove. "But stories, they stick." The dropship's engines grew louder, stirring the snow into spirals. Kair signaled the others to form up, their armor glinting under the rising light. Reeve stood at the edge of the crater, his silhouette cut against the glow of the dying fire. "Echo 9 whispered through the static. Think they'll remember you for the kills?" Reeve's eyes stayed on the horizon. "No," he said softly. "They'll remember that when everything else failed, a human didn't." The engines roared, drowning the quiet. The light enveloped the clearing, erasing the shadows of the fallen. As the team lifted into the air, the forest below faded into white once more, peaceful and deceptive. Somewhere beneath the snow, the metal carcass of the juggernaut cracked and finally went still. The wind carried the last echoes of gunfire away into the frozen dawn. And though the battle was over, Reeve knew the war was far from finished. He closed his eyes against the glare, feeling the hum of the dropship beneath him, and let the silence settle over his thoughts like snow on steel.